In 1758, a fiery light crossed the sky above Hawaii. To most people, it was a comet, but to one king, it was a warning. His priests had spoken of a child who would be born under this sign, a child with so much power that he would become a slayer of chiefs and one day rule all the islands. So when a baby boy was born only days later, the king made a brutal decision. The child had to die, but the baby survived. He was supposed to die before he could even speak. Instead, he became the man every island would one day answer to. His name was Kamehameha, the warrior who became Hawaii's first king. If you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe. The king's name was Alapai. He ruled the island of Hawaii, and the prophecy terrified him. It said the child born under the fiery sign would not become just another chief. He would become a conqueror, a warrior powerful enough to bring the islands under his rule. Alapai could not allow that child to live. So he sent men north to find the newborn boy and kill him. But word reached the family before the soldiers did. The baby was taken from his mother and carried deep into the mountains, where he could be hidden from the king's reach. For years, he lived in secrecy. No court, no glory, no royal childhood, just survival. Then, when the boy was around 5 years old, Alapai learned that the child was still alive. But by then, the danger had passed. Instead of killing him, the king allowed him to return to the royal court. The boy was given the name Kamehameha, the Lonely One. He was placed under the care of his uncle, Kalaniʻopuʻu, a powerful chief who would teach him the ways of war. From that point on, Kamehameha was watched closely, not only because of who he was, but because of what people believed he might become. As he grew older, the signs only became harder to ignore. Kamehameha became strong, disciplined, and feared. His priests believed he carried extraordinary mana, a spiritual powers that marked him for greatness. Then came the Naha stone. According to tradition, whoever could move it would one day conquer the islands. Kamehameha moved it. And suddenly, the prophecy no longer felt like a story. It felt like a warning. The lonely child had grown into something even kings were afraid of. Then strange ships appeared off the coast. It was 1778, and the people of Hawaii were celebrating Makahiki, a sacred season dedicated to the god Lono. For generations, stories had described the return of Lono across the sea. So when enormous ships arrived with white sails rising above them, many believed the moment had finally come. Captain James Cook had reached Hawaii. At first, he was welcomed like something more than human. Chiefs greeted him with honor. Food, gifts, and ceremony surrounded his men. For a short time, everything seemed peaceful. Then Cook left, and when a storm damaged his ships, he returned. This time, everything felt different. Makahiki had ended. The sacred season was over. The Hawaiians began to wonder why Lono had come back so soon. Suspicion spread. Arguments broke out. Supplies were stolen. Tensions rose. Then Cook made the mistake that changed everything. He tried to take King Kalaniʻopuʻu hostage. On the shore, warriors gathered. Cook's men raised their guns. The crowd grew louder. Then a shot was fired, and within moments the beach erupted into chaos. Cook was stabbed and clubbed to death. Kamehameha saw what happened that day. The foreigners were few, but their weapons were terrifying. That day, Kamehameha learned a lesson no chief on the islands could ignore. The world was changing, and Hawaii was not ready. If men like this ever returned with an army, divided islands would not survive. Someone would have to unite them first. In 1782, King Kalaniʻopuʻu died, and immediately Hawaii Island began to fracture. The kingdom was given to his son, Kawala'o, but Kamehameha received something just as powerful: guardianship of Ku, the god of war, and control of Waipio Valley. To some chiefs, that meant one thing: Kamehameha had been chosen. 5 powerful warrior chiefs pledged themselves to him, and the island split between 2 rulers before the new king had even secured his throne. Then came the insult. Kawalao's brother, Kiwa, entered Kamehameha's lands, cut down sacred coconut trees, killed some of his men, and sacrificed them to the gods. Kamehameha could not let that stand. He gathered his warriors and marched. The 2 armies met near Kealakekua Bay. Before the battle began, priests chanted to the gods, warriors shouted across the field, and both sides called for mana to carry them through the fight. Then they charged. This was not clean warfare. It was close, brutal, and personal. Spears drove through bodies. Heavy clubs crushed skulls. Shark-toothed daggers tore through flesh. Chiefs fought at the front, where everyone could see their courage or their death. In the chaos, one of Kamehameha's allied chiefs was struck down. Kawalao saw him fall and moved in to finish him. But before he could, a stone from one of Kamehameha's slingers smashed into the king's head. Kawalao dropped to the ground. Moments later, his throat was cut. The king was dead. Kamehameha took the blood-stained royal cloak from his body and lifted it for everyone to see. With that one gesture, he claimed the dead king's lands. But the island was not his yet. Kiowa refused to surrender, and 4 years, the war dragged on. Battle after battle followed. Sometimes Kamehameha won. Sometimes he failed. And doubt began to grow. How could he unite all the islands if he could not even conquer his own? Kamehameha needed something to break the deadlock, and then the outside world gave it to him. After Cook's arrival, more foreign ships began stopping in Hawaii. Traders came looking for supplies, business, and profit. But their arrival also brought something the islands had never seen used on such a scale before: muskets, cannons, weapons that could change a battle before warriors ever reached each other. After a violent confrontation with an American trading ship, Kamehameha gained possession of the fair American, along with its weapons and cannon. He also gained 2 foreign advisors, Isaac Davis and John Young. At first, they were prisoners, but Kamehameha saw their value. He spared them, kept them close, and learned from them. Davis and Young taught his warriors how to fire muskets, load cannons, and use weapons that could tear through enemy lines from a distance. Kamehameha was no longer fighting with tradition alone. He was adapting, and that made him dangerous. He was no longer just another warrior fighting for land. He was becoming something far more powerful, a ruler who could learn. Then he turned that new power toward Maui. At the time, the great king Kahekili had expanded his influence across much of the island chain. His son, Kalanikupule, controlled Maui. If Kamehameha wanted to rule all the islands, he would have to face them. So he gathered thousands of warriors, loaded them into war canoes, and sailed for Maui. The armies met in Ao Valley. For 2 days, the battle was savage and close. Warriors fought with spears, clubs, and shark-tooth weapons. Neither side could fully break the other. Then, on the 3rd day, Kamehameha brought out the cannon. The sound ripped through the valley. Kalanikupule's men had never faced anything like it. Cannonballs tore through their ranks. Muskets fired behind advancing Hawaiian warriors. The old world and the new world collided in one terrible battlefield. The Maui army broke. Bodies filled the stream in such numbers that the water itself seemed to stop. The battle became known as Kepaniwai, the damming of the waters. Kamehameha had not just won a battle. He had shown every island what the future of war looked like. Kamehameha had been marked for death before he could even speak. Instead, he survived. He became a warrior, a strategist, and eventually the first king of a united Hawaii. Before he was Kamehameha the Great, he was the lonely one. And that lonely child united the islands.